An exclusive economic zone is a sea zone prescribed by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, over which state has special rights over the exploration and use of marine resources, including energy production from water and wind. It stretches from the baseline out to 200 nautical miles from its coast. In colloquial usage, the term may include the continental shelf. The term does not include either the territorial sea or the continental shelf beyond the 200 nm limit. The difference between the territorial sea and the exclusive economic zone is that the first confers full sovereignty over the waters, whereas the second is merely a sovereign right, which refers to the coastal state's rights below the surface of the sea. The surface waters, as can be seen in the map, are international waters. Definition. Generally, a state's EEZ extends to a distance of 200 nautical miles out from its coastal baseline. The exception to this rule occurs when EEZs would overlap. That is, state coastal baselines are less than 400 nautical miles apart. When an overlap occurs, it is up to the states to delineate the actual maritime boundary. Generally, any point within an overlapping area defaults to the nearest state. A state's exclusive economic zone starts at the landward edge of its territorial sea and extends outward to a distance of 200 nautical miles from the baseline. The exclusive economic zone stretches much further into sea than the territorial waters, which end at 12 nanometers from the coastal baseline. Thus, the EEZ includes the contiguous zone. States also have rights to the seabed of what is called the continental shelf up to 350 nautical miles from the coastal baseline, beyond the EEZ, but such areas are not part of their EEZ. The legal definition of the continental shelf does not directly correspond to the geological meaning of the term, as it also includes the continental rise and slope, and the entire seabed within the EEZ. Origin. The idea of allotting nations' EEZs to give better control of maritime affairs outside territorial limits gained acceptance in the late 20th century. Initially, a country's sovereign territorial waters extended 3 nautical miles or 6 km beyond the shore. In modern times, a country's sovereign territorial waters extend to 12 nautical miles beyond the shore. One of the first assertions of exclusive jurisdiction beyond the traditional territorial seas was made by the United States of America in the Truman Proclamation of September 28, 1945. However, it was Chile and Peru respectively that first claimed maritime zones of 200 nautical miles with the Presidential Declaration concerning Continental Shelf of June 23, 1947 and Presidential Decree No. 781 of August 1, 1947. It was not until 1982 with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea that the 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone was formally adopted as, Part 5, Article 55 of the Convention states. Specific legal regime of the exclusive economic zone. The exclusive economic zone is an area beyond and adjacent to the territorial sea, subject to the specific legal regime established in this part, under which the rights and jurisdiction of the coastal state and the rights and freedoms of other states are governed by the relevant provisions of this convention. Disputes. The exact extent of exclusive economic zones is a common source of conflicts between states over marine waters. One well-known example of such dispute was the Cod Wars between the United Kingdom and Iceland. Norway and Russia dispute both territorial sea and EEZ with regard to the Svalbard archipelago as it affects Russia's EEZ due to its unique treaty status. A treaty was agreed in principle in April 2010 between the two states and subsequently ratified, resolving this demarcation dispute. The agreement was signed in Murmansk on September 15, 2010. The South China Sea is the site of an ongoing dispute between several neighboring nations. Croatia's ZERP in the Adriatic Sea caused friction with Italy and Slovenia, and caused problems during Croatia's accession to the European Union. A wedge-shaped section of the Beaufort Sea is disputed between Canada and the United States, as the area reportedly contains substantial oil reserves. France claims a portion of Canada's EEZ for Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon based on a new definition of the continental shelf and EEZ between the two countries. Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon is entirely surrounded by Canada's EEZ. Mauritius claims EEZ for Tromelin from France and EEZ for British Indian Ocean Territory from the UK. Northern Cyprus claims a portion of Cyprus EEZ overlaps with that of Northern Cyprus in the south-southeastern part of the Cyprus island. Cyprus claims a portion of Turkey's EEZ overlaps with its own EEZ. Lebanon claims that the agreement between Cyprus and Israel overlapped its own EEZ. Regions where a permanent ice shelf extends beyond the coastline are also a source of potential dispute. Transboundary stocks. Fisheries management, usually adhering to guidelines set by the FAO, provides significant practical mechanisms for the control of EEZs. Transboundary fish stocks are an important concept in this control. Transboundary stocks are fish stocks that range in the EEZs of at least two countries. Straddling stocks, on the other hand, range both within an EEZ as well as in the high seas, outside any EEZ. A stock can be both transboundary and straddling. Exclusive Economic Zone by country, Argentina. Australia. Seas and Submerged Lands Act 1973, Australia has the third largest exclusive economic zone, behind the United States and France, but ahead of Russia, with the total area actually exceeding that of its land territory. Per the UN Convention, Australia's EEZ generally extends 200 nautical miles from the coastline of Australia and its external territories, except where a maritime delimitation agreement exists with another state. The United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf confirmed, in April 2008, Australia's rights over an additional 2.5 million square kilometres of seabed beyond the limits of Australia's EEZ. Australia also claimed, in its submission to the UN Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf, additional continental shelf past its EEZ from the Australian Antarctic Territory, but these claims were deferred on Australia's request. However, Australia's EEZ from its Antarctic Territory is approximately 2 million square kilometres. Brazil. Brazil's exclusive economic zone covers 3,660,995 km2. In 2004, the country submitted its claims to the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf to extend its maritime continental margin. Canada. Canada is unusual in that its exclusive economic zone, covering 2,755,564 km2, is slightly smaller than its territorial waters. The latter generally extend only 12 nautical miles from the shore, but also include inland marine waters such as Hudson Bay across, the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the internal waters of the Arctic archipelago. Chile. Chile's EEZ includes areas around the Desventuradas Islands, Easter Island and the Juan Fernandez Islands. There is a dispute with Peru over the extension of Chile's EEZ, Chile in a Euro-Peruvian maritime dispute, People's Republic of China. The first figure excludes all disputed waters, while the last figure indicates China's claimed boundaries, and does not take into account neighboring powers' claims. Cyprus. The exclusive economic zone of Cyprus covers more than 70,000 km2 and is divided between 13 exploration blocks. The process of the establishment of Cyprus, Israel and Lebanon exclusive economic zones was held in Nicosia in 2010 with separate meetings between each country. Cyprus and Israel as part of their wider cooperation have agreed to start their gas explorations with a common American company, specifically Noble Energy. Cypriot and Israeli governments are discussing to export their natural gas through the shipping of compressed natural gas to Greece and then to the rest of Europe or through a subsea pipeline starting from Israel and then leading to Greece via Cyprus. Denmark. The Kingdom of Denmark includes the autonomous province of Greenland and the self-governing province of the Faroe Islands. The EEZs of the latter two do not form part of the EEZ of the European Union. France. Due to its numerous overseas departments and territories scattered on all oceans of the planet, France possesses the second largest EEZ in the world, covering 11,035,000 km2, just behind the EEZ of the United States, but ahead of the EEZ of Australia. The EEZ of France covers approximately 8% of the total surface of all the EEZs of the world, whereas the land area of the French Republic is only 0.45% of the total land area of the Earth. Note: the EEZ column only adds up to 10,155,838 square kilometers. All but the two smallest components of France's EEZ territorial seas match those at http://www.searoundus.org, which would be a better reference than the reference Juvena Euro, which only provides EEZ sizes for Australia. Greece. Greece has claimed an exclusive economic zone, as it is entitled to do so, as per UNCLOS 1982 as well as customary international law. According to published maps, the Israeli government has recognized the exclusive economic zones of Greece and Cyprus. They describe the course of the gas pipeline which will transfer gas produced by American Iobel Energy Limited from the Leviathan Reservoir to Europe, through an undersea pipeline crossing Greece. The gas pipeline should traverse the sea area, which according to international law, is part of the Greek EEZ. By this proposal, Israel recognizes the Greek EEZ in the area and offers an advantage that Greece can use during negotiation procedures to support its claims on the area. In practice, this cooperation will set up a powerful energy coalition between Greece, Cyprus and Israel. The mining and operating part will be undertaken by an American company. The substance of the issue is that in an effort to protect and secure vital Israeli interests in the Mediterranean Sea, Israel has been left with no choice other than to officially delimit its maritime borders. India. 1,641,514 km2, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, 663,629 km2, total, 2,305,143 km2. India is currently seeking to extend its EEZ to 350 miles. Israel. In 2010, an EEZ was set within the territorial waters between Israel and Cyprus at the maritime halfway point, a clarification essential for safeguarding Israel's rights to oil and underwater gas reservoirs. The agreement was signed in Nicosia by Israeli Infrastructure Minister Uzi Landor and the Cypriot Foreign Minister Markos Kyprianou. The two countries agreed to cooperate in the development of any cross-border resources discovered, and to negotiate an agreement on dividing joint resources. Japan. Marcus Island, 428,875 km2, Ogasawara Islands, 862,782 km2, Pacific Ocean, 1,162,334 km2, Ryukyu Islands, 1,394,676 km2, Sea of Japan, 630,721 km2, Sea of Okhotsk, Little, total, 4,479,358. Japan has disputes over its EEZ boundaries with all its Asian neighbors. The above, and relevant maps at the sea around us project both indicate Japan's claimed boundaries, and do not take into account neighboring powers' claims. Mexico. Mexico's exclusive economic zones comprise a total surface area of 3,144,295 km2, and places Mexico among the countries with the largest areas in the world. New Zealand. New Zealand's EEZ covers 4,083,744 km2, which is approximately 15 times the land area of the country. Sources vary significantly on the size of New Zealand's EEZ. For example, a recent government publication gave the area as roughly 4,300,000 km2. These figures are for the EEZ of New Zealand proper, and do not include the EEZs of other territories in the realm of New Zealand. Northern Cyprus. On September 21, 2011, Turkey and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus signed an EEZ border agreement in New York. Turkey is the only country that recognizes the TRNC, See Cyprus dispute. Norway. Norway has a large exclusive economic zone of 819,620 km2 around its coast. The country has a fishing zone of 1,878,953 km2, including fishing zones around Svalbard and Jan Mayen. the fact that the European Union shares its economic zones was a big reason why Norway did not enter the EU as a member. In April 2009, the United Nations Commission for the Limits of the Continental Shelf approved Norway's claim to an additional 235,000 square kilometers of continental shelf. The Commission found that Norway and Russia both had valid claims over a portion of shelf in the Barents Sea. Pakistan, 201,520 km2, Philippines. Philippines EEZ covers 2,265,684 km 2, Poland. The Polish EEZ covers the area of 30,533 km2 within the Baltic Sea. Portugal. Portugal has the 10th largest EEZ in the world. Presently, it is divided in 3 non-contiguous subzones: Continental Portugal 327,667 km2, Azores 953,633 km2, Madeira 446,108 km2, Total 1,727,408 km2. Portugal submitted a claim to extend its jurisdiction over additional 2.15 million square kilometers of the neighboring continental shelf in May 2009, resulting in an area with a total of more than 3,877,408 km2. The submission, as well as a detailed map, can be found in the task group for the extension of the continental shelf website. Spain disputes the EEZ southern border, maintaining that it should be drawn halfway between Madeira and the Canary Islands. But Portugal exercises sovereignty over the Savage Islands, a small archipelago north of the Canaries, claiming an EEZ border further south. Spain objects, arguing that the Savage Islands do not have a separate continental shelf, citing Article 121 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Russia. Kaliningrad, 11,634, St. Petersburg, 12,759, Barents Sea, 1,308,140, Black Sea, 66,854, Pacific, 3,419,202, Siberia, 3,277,292, total, 8,095,881 km2, South Africa. South Africa's EEZ includes both that next to the African mainland and that around the Prince Edward Islands, totaling 1,535,538 km2. Mainland 106,659 km2, Prince Edward Islands 466,879 km2, Republic of Korea. Area, 300,851 km 2. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom's exclusive economic zone is the 5th largest in the world at 6,805,586 square kilometers. It comprises the exclusive economic zones surrounding the United Kingdom, the Crown Dependencies, and the British Overseas Territories. A figure does not include the EEZ of the British Antarctic Territory. The exclusive economic zones associated with the Falkland Islands and South Georgia are disputed by Argentina. Part of the Overseas Territory of St. Helena, Ascension and Tristan da Cunha, which together has an EEZ of 1,641,294 square kilometers. Only the United Kingdom and Gibraltar are part of the EU. The Channel Islands, the Isle of Man and the remaining overseas territories are not part of the EU. The United Kingdom has not as yet claimed its rights with regards to Gibraltar or the sovereign base areas in Cyprus. United States. The United States Exclusive Economic Zone is the largest in the world, covering 11,351,000 km2. Areas of its EEZ are located in 3 oceans, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean Sea. Magnuson-Stevens Fisheries Conservation and Management Act of 1976, the sizes of the components of the U.S. EEZ territorial seas are, Alaska, 3,770,021 km2, Hawaii, Northwest Islands, 1,579,538 km2, U.S. East Coast, 915,763 km2, Hawaii, Main Islands, 895,346 km2, U.S. West Coast, 825,549 km2, Northern Marianas. 749,268 km2, Mainland Gulf Coast, 707,832 km2, Johnston Atoll, 442,635 km2, Howland and Baker Islands, 434,921 km2, Wake Island, 407,241 km2, American Samoa, 404,391 km2, Palmyra Atoll and Kingman Reef, 352,300 km2, Jarvis Island. 316,665 km2, Guam, 221,504 km2, Puerto Rico, 177,685 km2, U.S. Virgin Islands, 33,744 km2, total, 12,234,403 km2, rankings by area. This list includes dependent territories within their sovereign states, but does not include claims on Antarctica. EEZ plus TIA is exclusive economic zone plus total internal area. See also, Air Defense Identification Zone, Baseline, Continental Shelf, International Waters, RV. Marshall, Special Economic Zone, Territorial Waters, Notes and References. Notes: the reference gives an approximate figure of 2 million square kilometers for the EEZ claimed by Australia as part of its Antarctic territory. This is in addition to the 8 million square kilometer total given in the reference. This EEZ is also distinct from the 2.56 million square kilometers of additional continental shelf mentioned in the reference. References. External links: United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, Part 5, Sea Around Us Project, View the EEZ of all nations, the USA Zone since 1977, GIS data, Plus B, Foreign Military Activities in Asian EEZs, Conflict Ahead? By Mark J. Valencia, EEZ Management.